stayed off of Roosevelt. They stayed off of 16 Cornell. That's where I learned how to play. I was 5 years old. And started going on the road when they moved on 33rd and Park. They stayed there for more than 35 years. And my parents only had 3 houses that I know of since I've been on the planet. So they been pretty stable.
And what school were you going to as a teenager?
My first school, I went to school 26, and then I went to Shortridge.
Shortridge.
And that was the last school that I attended. You know, I went on the road after that.
Did anyone, you were playing music from such a young age, did anyone in your family play music?
Well, when I first started playing, my oldest sister, she had started to get in the music business. She was more like a singer. And I used to come in and sit through some of their rehearsals. You know, that's before I started playing bass. And man, they were impressive to me, you know.
The Terrells, right?
Terrells, yeah.
And,
yeah. And the band was called Newbridge. And they used to rehearse at my mama's house in the front room. My dad didn't like it, but they got it in. And they ended up going around on 33rd Central. James Schaefer had a production company where Ebony Rhythm, Funk Campaign, they rehearsed there. Newbridge rehearsed there, Terrells. I think a couple other bands, Amnesty, I think, rehearsed there before they went over on Fairfield College. You know, so other than that, that's when I was, you know, wasn't even supposed to be there. I want to see what y'all doing. That's how I learned, you know. So.
Watching your big sister's group.
Yes.
Yeah. Doris, was that her name?
Doris, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the New Breeds, do you know, was that Raphael Barnes' group?
Raphael, Tyrone. And we had worked with drag queens.
Right, the female impersonators would be on the bill.
That was a section of the shows, you know, and all up down the avenue. Iron Jaw, him, I don't remember the boy's name was doing girls, but I mean that was fascinating to me. I mean, but
right, I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was just part of the show. And she was like, a lot of these clubs were packed. It wasn't just a live band playing or some singers coming out. It was other sections. They turned pages in the clubs, man. And I thought it was great.
Yeah.
You know.
What do you remember about Iron Jaw? He would pick up tables with his teeth while they were roller skating.
On skates. Yeah. Yes. I've never seen a oops at all. Every time Billy Max, Blue Eagle, that's where we, you know, basically, that's, you know. I've never seen any casualty or anything like that happening with his show, man. Dude was always impressive. The place was always packed. And I know that at one time the Blue Eagle could hold at least 150, 200 people. Now, that's tight, you know. And they come back every week. Every week.
And, you know, again, you're a kid, you're playing on the same stage as these female impersonators that I'm sure had very suggestive routines.
Yeah.
What did you make of that at the time?
I knew they were boys.
Yeah.
And the curiosity part, you know, the guys in the band had already said, hey, they're not, no, yeah. I said, but, it ain't what you think. Cool, I'm done, you know. And then we all became good friends because we were working together. We were good friends. I respected them, they respected what we did, you know. You know, wasn't no hanky-panky, none of that, you know, it was all business. You know.
But there was no discrimination against these people
at all, by no means.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. There was no, they weren't treated differently or persecuted because of the lifestyle they had.
No, not at all. Not that I can remember. You know.
Yeah. And you know, you mentioned the Chili Bowl, which was an after-hour club, and I did want to ask you about the club culture during this time when you entered into the music scene, because it was very different. You know, now you go to, you know, the Jazz Kitchen and you see a band play for an hour and a half and go home. Like you said, this was 6 to 7 days a week. You had a matinee show. You played the main event.
And
then you played after. Yeah, tell me about, you know, the lifestyle of a musician during this time period.
Well, you know, of course, on Saturday nights is when the after hours would be open, and I mean, of course, the guys didn't have the energy they had from from the beginning of the night, but we made it happen. We would play from 3 o'clock in the morning to 6. Sun was coming up. This was happening every Saturday night at $50 a man is what they paid us. It's good money for a kid.
Yeah.
Back then, I bought a motorcycle.
But this was after you'd already had a full day of performance,
yes.
right? You played the
full week.
Day, a full week.
Yeah. And look forward to it, man. It was great. I mean, that was just the way of life. And I didn't know about anything else other than that until I went on the road.
And there were a lot of after-hours clubs around the city, right?
Way more than the Chili Bowl. We just didn't know about them.
So that was the main one you were playing at.
Yeah, because they wanted us. They didn't want the other groups. Yeah. They wanted us, and we would. I think we trade off about maybe twice.
Yeah.
With different groups, but we mainly did that every Saturday night, from 3 in the morning to 6 in the morning, and look forward to it. I mean, it was fun.
That was a good place.
Yeah.
Anything you wanted, they had it.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah, the food was downstairs with the Chili Bowl, that's what they name it. They're famous for their chili. And you go upstairs, and there's a nightclub. Bumping. So yeah, man.
Do you remember any of the other after-hour clubs from that time period? I know there was one on the Avenue at that time called Frederick Douglass.
Frederick Douglass is the club I was trying to talk. Couldn't remember. Now you pinged me right there. Yeah, Fred Douglass. Yeah, I played there.
Yeah.
That's one of them Avenue clubs. Didn't make it at that. Chili Bowl swallowed us up, man.
Yeah.
We didn't make it. We didn't make the Fred Douglass. We played occasionally at Fred Douglass, but our main thing was the Blue Eagle, Billy Max, and the Place to Play.
Yeah.
And
these after-hour parties, they were kind of operating underground, right? Because this was not.
It was not legal.
Right. Did you ever get busted or anything?
No.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Let me think about this. It was a raid in one of them spots, man.
Because the city cracked down on this at various points. They would really make an effort to go and raid these clubs and kind of scare people from continuing it.
I'm trying to remember. Did Chili Bowl get raided? And I mean, while we were there,
I remember them getting raided. I do.
If they did, man, it's not top of the list. I mean, it wasn't.
No, they wasn't. They was only closed down for about a week or so, and then they was back at it.
Yeah.
Back up business.
Didn't hurt anybody. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Is that something you worried about as a young person?
No.
You were going to get
no way. No.
carted off to jail?
No.
Yeah.
No. I didn't think about jail. Didn't think about the police. Oh man. And then I found out how girls worked too.
Okay,
So that besides the music, that kind of took my time. You know what I'm saying?
I'm curious at this point when you were playing in clubs around 1970, right? Is that what we're talking about here?
From 68 on up, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who were sort of the real impressive figures in the local music scene? We talked about Baby Leon. The highlighters were around at this time. Who were who were sort of the heavyweight players in the scene here?
Impressive musicians to me back then. Master Booby,
guitar player.
Lester Johnson, Clint Jones, his brother Bo Diddley. He want to play with me with the after hour joint. Who else? Oh God. James Bell, James Boone, the Presidents, the group they had. These guys, man, they played at 20 grand a lot. Is that right? Yeah. 20 grand. And I would get up in there, man, and knowing I'm underage, and see the whole thing and learn. I was impressed with them kind of cats, man. They were doing commercial R&B, standard music. Anything that was hot on the radio, they were doing it.
The Moonlighters were around.
Moonlighters.
Yeah.
Tom, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much of an advantage for you was it being able to read charts?
I how much of advantage was it?
Yes.
Big one. Got me more work.
Explain.
Did you learn to read at Shortridge, or you taught yourself?
No, to be honest with you, Jack McDuff taught me how to read charts.
Okay.
You know, I was familiar with some parts of the chart because I played trumpet when I was in school. So I knew about the treble clef. You know, I didn't really knew about bass clef. And McDuff literally taught me how to read charts. And matter of fact, on some of them jobs, man, he'd pull out that book and say number 32. And charts with it. I had my own folder, you know. And for the first 16 to 32 bars, I'd read them charts and I'm off, running. I don't need chart no more, you know. But between McDuff and Marvin Cabell, they the one taught me how to read charts.
So you learned as an adult, basically?
No, I was still a kid.
You were?
I was a teenager, basically.
You were a teenager, wow.
Yeah, you know. But it helped me when I got with Jimmy Cole. All that teaching these two cats taught me paid off. That's the reason why Jimmy would call me to come play. No rehearsal. I think I rehearsed down the Indiana Musician Union building probably 3 times. And then he would call and say, "Look, man, Knox, I got a gig. Come on, you know, bring your charts. We bring your folder." And we do the gig, pack up, go home. So it was a big advantage, you know.
And you know, you've had such a diverse experience in music. You know, you've worked with jazz players like Jimmy Coe, Jack McDuff. You played with funk bands like Cameo and fusion groups like Merging Traffic. I'm curious what your personal music interests are. What do you listen to? What do you like to play? Because it seems like you can do just about anything. Yeah.
I play it all, man, but what I don't have experience in as much as the rest of them is the gospel. And I'm intrigued about everything that I hear that these girls want to do. I dive head in on it, man, because these cats are not kidding, man. These cats are really arranging some good material, man. It's phenomenal from the, and this is gospel. But I mean, and it's close to fusion because it's got so many changes in it, you know, and the arrangements just don't stay still, you know. Some stuff is got a funk bed and the stage right there, you know. The other stuff, man, they take you on a ride, take you on a journey, and I welcome a challenge, you know, because it helps me here and my playing, you know. So yeah, any level of difficulties turn me on.
When you were a young man, what kind of music were you interested in? Did you have a specific style of music you enjoyed, or what was? Well,
I was introduced on the set was R&B, definitely. But when I got hooked up with Marvin Cabell, he broke me in on the jazz and the fusion thing, and I rolled with it. I went right with it, you know, and I liked it. I love it right today, you know. If I get called to do a jazz fusion set, as long as they didn't have to relocate, I'd take that job. You know, at this point, I'm stable. I'm not really interested in going up down the highway anymore, but I ain't gonna be an idiot if I get called for the right gig. I'm going. I'm out of here. You know. But yeah, fusion is probably our forte. You know, because it takes you places. It's not a dull moment there. You know. So yeah. Now I'm a funk bum, man. You know, if my job is to bump you out your seat, that's what I'm gonna do. You know, I'm good at that. You know, I think I am.
Who were the first funk bands you heard in Indianapolis? Local groups.
Oh God, let's see. Who would be? Oh man.
Because you were really part of the birth of this music here in a lot of ways, right? You were really one of the first generation of funk players.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I mean, some of the groups you mentioned were kind of making that transition from R&B into funk, like the Presidents and the Highlighters, of course.
Well, all the cats in Manchild and Red Hot, we basically grew up with each other, and we sort of had the same taste to a certain extent. You know, they were more commercial than I was because they were doing anything you hear on the radio, they would play it. You know, me on the other hand, I would. For some reason, these cats would call me for level of difficulties, man. I mean, just more leaning towards the jazz scene, commercial jazz scene, you know. But the funk guys that I can say that I was impressed with, or at least that can hold my attention, would be like cats like Manchild, you know, Funk Incorporated, Bobby Wiley and them. man, my file cabinet got thin here.
You mentioned James Boone, Rhythm Machine. Maybe?
Rhythm, oh yeah, Mackie Boy and them, yeah. Mackie Boy, he's a saxophone player. He played at Surfside too. These guys was they put their own twist with their show. You know, and, I mean, if you heard it on the radio, they would do the radio arrangement, then put their little thing with it, and it was a lot of it was impressive. You know, I kept my attention. You know, so yeah. You know.
One last, you mentioned fusion music, and I want to ask about your work in the 70s. One last question about Indiana Avenue I wanted to ask you about. Did you ever play at the midnight shows at the Walker Theater?
On and off.
Yeah.
Occasionally I would get called to do something at the Walker, and it would be with either a female singer or a male singer. I don't remember who at this point, but I know I've been on this stage plenty of times. You know, not with no one specific group.
Yeah.
You know. You
don't remember the Christmas shows they would do, the midnight shows? Does that ring a bell at all?
I was probably gone.
Yeah, gotcha.
I was probably gone.
Okay, yeah. So, I'm
curious.
Christmas
time is the money time.
Right.
You usually ain't at home if you got the gig.
Right.
You're usually not at home.
One thing I wanted to ask you too is, you were playing with Cabello? Is that the group name?
Marvin Cabell.
Cabell.
The group was called Cabell.
Yeah. Did you record with them at all, or?
Man, this is another story that's crazy. We were in the studio doing the album, and even got the album jacket. Everything got printed up. Marvin broke the group up in the studio, man. Right on studio time, and it was like, him and Earl Williams was a keyboard player that played with James Cleveland. He also played with Miles Davis. He did the On the Corner. He did the On the Corner album and Big Fun album. He also played with Billy Paul. He's a main keyboard player on all his stuff. Marvin and Earl Williams fell out about something. And Marvin just said, screw it, and everybody went their separate ways. I ended up moving out of Marvin's house and ended up hooking up with a chick, man, that was probably old enough to be my mother. You know, but that was my girlfriend. You know, God. We moved. I was closer to Washington D.C. where I moved from. But I ended up start playing with 4 or 5 groups out there. They had, during the week, little spots they played at. And I said, I didn't come to this 4 East to do all that. And that's when I got the call from Raven and said, man, you're homesick, you ready to come home? I said, yeah. So they flew me and my equipment home, man, and that's how that happened.
And how did you get in Cabell?
Marvin was playing at Surfside 7. He was one of the saxophone players that went through the Surfside 7. Now, he's from out of Chicago originally. But Marvin was one of the kind of players, he was so good, man. Every city he go to, man, they come on in, man. We want you to play with us, And it was a lot of clubs back in them days. I mean, everybody had a band, and he was well known. He just didn't have an album yet. It was this close with the album. I'd have been the bass player on it, But yeah, man, I had that thing busted up, man. It was just out of nowhere.
And how do you spell his name? The last name?
Cabell.
K?
C.
C-A-B-E-L-L?
I think that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't know what happened to those sessions? It just disappeared?
That I do not know what happened to, man.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I just heard recently, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, Marvin passed away. Him and Joselle Carter, you know about him?
Yeah, drummer, yeah.
They were very close.
Okay.
Richard and them. They played with, I think, Johnny Liontel band. Yeah. So yeah, they were good buds. So.
How old were you when you were with Cabell?
Oh, God, 16, 17.
Wow. So you dropped out of school and just hit the road.
And I stayed in high school probably 3 months, 9th grade. Yep, out of here. I mean, that's what I was meant for me to be. My dad said, man, he's a musician. It's too late. We can't make him go to school. And at this point, school couldn't help me, man. I already knew how to count money. I mean, I could read, can write, you know what I'm saying. And this is what I've been doing. I've been in this business now going on 56 years.
So your mom bought you your first bass, and it sounds like your dad helped you kind of get integrated into the club scene. So your parents wanted you to pursue this life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, 139%. I don't know where the 39 came from, but yeah.
That's great, yeah. So they must have been very proud of all the success you had.
Sure.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
And you mentioned you were near D.C. with Cabell, near Washington,
Yeah,
D.C.?
I was in the outskirts. I stayed on the outskirts of Baltimore, Maryland.
Yeah.
Marvin stayed on right in the city of right in the inner cities of Baltimore, you know.
And you get a call from the great Indianapolis drummer Rayford Griffin,
Yes.
telling you about this band here in Indianapolis that was teenagers like you,
Absolutely.
called Tarnished Silver.
Right.
And this band today is probably best remembered as being one of the early vehicles to showcase the talents of Kenny Babyface Edmonds. Right?
Absolutely.
He was part of this group as a student at North Central.
North Central.
Yeah. So this is a legendary group within Indianapolis music lore, and
Yeah.
you played bass with this group. Tell us about Tarnished Silver. And
Man, these cats were so impressive. It wasn't a dead weight in the band. Everybody was gifted in what they did, and did it, nailed it. Everything. We would do Earth, Wind and Fire type stuff. We would do New Birth type stuff. We would do a lot of Stevie Wonder stuff. Because Kenny sounded like Stevie a lot back in the days, you know. And our shows, man, was like just, just remembrance. You would know that, that these cats were on that set, you know. We, around prom season, they did a lot of prom. They would get called for a lot of high school prom gigs, you know. Like I said, I think I stayed with them almost 2 years, a little over 2 years. And these guys wanted to go to college, man, and I wasn't ready to come here and start work, getting a job at McDonald's nowhere, and the nightclub scene, went downhill for as I'm concerned. And I actually went home not knowing what I was going to do. And then when I got that call, my little brother around and said some man out of New York wanted a bass player, and I said,
yeah,
pack your stuff.
Jack McDuff called you.
Out of here. Yeah.
So when the guys went off to college, they were like, let's break the band up, or let's just put this on hold, and everybody just hang tight while we work this out? Yeah.
That band actually literally busted up that night, because Rayford the one took me to the airport. And I think maybe a year or two later, they ended up hooking up with Manchild, Daryl and Kenny, and they actually started riding the Indianapolis scene then. And they did go to college, they didn't stay, they didn't stay long, But Manchild, man, went through a phase of thing where they, everything they touched was a situation with a national situation, convention center stuff. I don't know if they did Market Square, but they would do arena size jobs besides the Zodiac.
Military bases.
Military bases, They were doing huge, large audience performances, which was next on the line for them. They deserved it, And it was that kind of stuff was brand new for Kenny and Daryl, But I was happy for them cats, man. I really was,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about a little more about Tarnished Silver. At this time, you and Babyface, you're both aspiring young musicians looking for a break, right? But did you have any sense that he had this incredible wealth of talent at that point? Could you see that yet?
Well, they wasn't writing back then. They was just doing cover tunes. And I knew Kenny was special, man. Kenny just had this thing with his deliverance, and anything he touched, man, you could tell it wasn't an imposter. He put his heart in it. He was gifted. He's a good gifted cat for them, so he's a special cat. He had that thing, had that it thing with him, man. Daryl's a percussionist. Daryl knew about equipment. Daryl knew how to fix stuff, But Kenny was the guy on that set. Emmanuel Lewis and Emmanuel Officer He was Kenny's sidekick. They all went to school together, North Central, and they were all good friends. So them three hung out like wet clothes. Well, I'm telling you, Tom Boyd hung out with Kenny because he was North Central too. All them they had their own little clique. Me and Rayford had our little clique, you know. So, but yeah, that was a great experience for me. I have nothing bad to say about them cats other than they kind of broke my heart when they was going to college.
And you said you weren't performing original songs in your set?
No, not with Tony Silver.
Yeah. Did they ever bring in songs and the band would kind of work through them, or do you have any memory of Babyface kind of introducing his original music at that time?
It was kind of talked about, but it was never worked on.
Yeah.
You know.
I have a tape that a friend of mine, a guy named Tony Black, he wrote the song "It's Too Late for Love" for the Vanguards. Tony passed away a couple of years ago. But they would come in his basement around this time period. I think it was him, Babyface, and Emmanuel Officer, and somebody else, and they were recording these original tunes.
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered if any of these titles ring a bell to you. Tanita, I've Seen You Someplace Before.
Absolutely.
And, you know, how old were you when you got this call?
I was in my late teens when I got in that.
Yeah. Did you, as a teenager, did you understand the significance of who he was and his history in jazz?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you were just like, this guy in New York wants to hire me, I'm going to check it out.
Organ player.
Yeah.
You know, that was good with his left foot.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know he was a legend, man. Yeah, I didn't know this guy that had 37 albums out. You know,
on the greatest labels with the greatest musicians.
Yes. And we were getting ready to really go up under Warner Brothers. They were going to do his next album. He wasn't going to play keys. He wasn't going to play organ. He was going to play Fender Rhodes. I was going to play bass on it. George Benson pulled him in on that hookup. You know. I think we were at Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and I kind of went through I went through a mental state then, man. Because see, Mac Duff taught me how to read them charts. But more and more, I started playing baritone sax parts instead of actually playing bass parts. Because that's Jack McDuff. Bass down here, bass here.
Foot pedal.
You know, foot pedal, you know, he got to make that little noise and stuff. I was playing horn parts on bass. And it actually got to me up on there where I didn't want to be there no more. I didn't want to do that because I'm the guy that's supposed to bump you off your seat. You know, that's my job. You know, and come Rayford again. You ready to come home?
Yeah.
Timing, and yeah.
How long in total did you stay with Jack McDuff?
Right at 5 years.
Wow, 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Touring constantly with him through that time?
Gone all the time. I came home probably 3-4 times.
Yeah.
You know, and then when we would take a break, I'd be in New York. You know.
And Jack McDuff, you know, he updated his sound periodically to keep with the times, but his forte was straight jazz.
That's bebop,
yeah.
the bebop king. That's what he smiles. He got the smiles on with that. Yeah.
Had you played that type of music before getting into his band?
No, never.
Yeah. How was that? How did you kind of integrate yourself into his group?
Well, when I actually learned how to start swinging was with Marvin Cabell. And some of the stuff, man, was like fun. You know, it wasn't fun, but it was fun to do because I knew the instrument. I could see the notes before I got there, and that made me, you know, I could do it as fast as slow as you want to go. You know, and I got clean at it. I got good at doing what they wanted me to do. You know. But that is, I'm not really a swing player. I can play it. I can play it well. But that ain't for me, you know. So, I don't know if I should be saying this. Like, well, we could have called you for a job. No. Oh, man.
You must have played at a lot of interesting spots with him. I mean, what kind of, were you playing the club circuit? Were you playing festivals?
Man, we did it all. We played festivals. We did the club circuit. We did Mardi Gras. My first festival I did with him, the Arbor Jazz and Blues Festival. Over 60,000 people. They had delay towers going way back. And man, it was, I think, 6 of us at Mac Duff's band. I was a little nervous at first because I'd never played in front of that many people. But man, we clowned them, man. We had a ball. It was fun. It was fun, you know. And then his main thing was, you know, big club sets. You know, he can go anywhere and work. You know, he would get deposits. He would get contracts through the mail. Wherever we was, all right guys, we're gonna be here next week. You know, I was always gone with MacDuff. That's one thing I loved about that man. That man worked real well, and he paid me an additional $200 to drive.
you were driving the van, or what?
Oh man, when we first started, we had a stage wagon pulling a trailer, man. I drove from Dallas, Texas, straight to Memphis, Tennessee. It's a long ride, you know.
See, that was a trick. Most musicians wouldn't have a license because they didn't want to help drive.
Yeah. They, at the club, man, they been drinking. Oh, we there yet? You know, and he back there, wake up in there. Rickshaw, we doing okay? I said, yeah, we're doing just fine. I said, we might need to stop and get some gas. Stop, get gas, go to the bathroom, get back in, and keep going. As long as, man, you know I can't even drive from here to Kokomo without getting sleepy right now. Now, that long haul thing is over with for me, man.
Did he take his own organ, or did he play house organ?
No, he took everything.
Wow.
Leslie organ, Dolly's on Leslie. I mean, he would even pay me extra, because I was younger than the rest of them cats, man. Paid me extra to help pack it and unpack it, load in, load out. And man, I had no problem back then. I liked my job. I just didn't like playing baritone sax.
Responsibility. He gave you responsibility.
Yeah, and I was very dependable. You know, he said he would call me Rickshaw. Rickshaw, you ready? You want to go home? You ready to go back to enough for a minute? I said, how long we gonna be out? We'll be out about a couple of weeks. He said, yeah, go ahead. I got a plane ticket for you. He'll fly me home and fly me back. Wasn't no ground bus, you know. And a little over 5 years passed that quick. I know MacDuff didn't want me to leave. I didn't want to. I wanted to leave because I was tired of playing baritone sax parts on charts. But I know I probably broke his heart when I left, man, because you know Jonathan Wood took my place, but he wasn't me, you know. So, but it was just time, man. It was time to move, you know.
You must have been with him probably from '73 to '78. Is that right?
I was with wait a minute. Let me get this right.
'72 to '77, somewhere around.
No, it had to be it was after '75, after Tawny Silver. 75, 76 to late '78.
Okay.
That's not quite 5 years, but yeah.
A few years, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you record with him at all during this time?
We were prepping for studio stuff. The original songs was that he was doing were getting rehearsed on, you know, and it was also getting coached by George Benson. You know, George Benson would come in on our sets every time he come to town, you know, and he the one told MacDuff, man, you need to start recording on Fender Rhodes. Come up to date, get up to date, do some stuff so you can sell some records, you know. So, but
yeah, because he was living off his old recordings.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what that's MacDuff, trademark, man. That's what he do, man. And God, that guy's good. He was good at what he did, man. He sounded like a motor by himself, you know. So.
Any other memorable gigs you had with him? You mentioned the Blues Festival.
And this guy have taken me to almost every major spot in the United States between him and the group Yesterday's Children. I've probably been in every state besides Hawaii and Utah. You know, I've played in every state in the United States because that's how much he worked, you know. I mean, if it wasn't up before 3 or 4 days, we were there. Charleston, South Carolina was a memorable. That was, and this is the reason why I say it's memorable, because we would, you know, college kids, they would pack the house. They know MacDuff, they know he's a legend. You know, just before on Saturday night, before we would go on Saturday night, earlier that day, we had a group of college kids come and get 3 of us out of the band. and we went out on some boats, and they tied about 20 boats together. We had our own personal swimming pool right in the middle of the 20 boats, you know, and they were getting blasted, man. You hear me? They were college kids, and me and Leo, what's his name? I can't remember. The second player at the Leo Johnson. I said, man, we got to be careful. We got to go work tonight. We can't go on that drunk. So we held it, man, and it was fun. It was fun to be able to be on the road and have fun, you know, and play music was just the way of life, man, you know.
Were you on any live recordings with him? Do you know of anything floating around that you played on?
Not with MacDuff, no.
Yeah.
No.
What was the first time you recorded? Do you remember? Was it with Merging Traffic or?
First time I recorded was with Cabell.
No, but they got released, I mean.
No, they got released?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I don't think any of it got released.
Right, because Merging Traffic didn't either.
Yeah. I mean, it was this close, though, you know. And about that, man, that was kind of heartbreaking the way that band broke up, man. You know?
Well, yeah. Well, let's jump into that. You know, you were on the road with brother Jack McDuff, and you told me you were playing baritone sax parts on the bass, and you just kind of.
I mean, not every song, but it got more. I ended up playing more and more.
Yeah, you just weren't able to kind of do your thing.
I wasn't really feeling the horn parts. Man.
Rayford Griffin, the great drummer, called you. At this point, he's in the Indianapolis jazz fusion band Merging Traffic.
Right.
And he called you with an opportunity to come play with this band. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
did you know who Merging Traffic were at this point?
I knew Merging Traffic as a group in three. I knew Paul Hines, I knew Frank Smith, I knew Kenny, not personally, but I learned about them over the years.
They were teenage prodigies, right? The group
yes.
Like kind of Ramsey Lewis trio.
Yes, special kids, man. They were, oh my God.
Butch Lloyd played with them too.
Butch Lloyd, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you knew the early version of the group.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. So, tell me what happens when Rayford calls you.
That was, I wasn't expecting that, and that would have been the shots in my phone. I wasn't expecting that type of band, but it was leaning more sound like what's Roy Ayers type of sound, because we had a vibe player, Vesta, she played the vibes, and then John Lovell, and then Hank Hankerson. That put that little icing on top of it. So it was very interesting. But that band went through like 4 different phases of types of jazz. You know.
Right, they were playing more like Mahavishnu orchestra type music.
Went there, yes.
And early on, the Ramsey Lewis kind of thing.
Yeah.
And by the time you came in, it was more soulful. It sounds like
more soulful, and then even fusionist. You know, we did a gig with Ramsey in Cleveland at a club called Pinky's, and we warmed him up, which was an experience like, whoa, dude. You know, and get this. The guitar player, Henry Johnson, that was playing with me and Jack McDuff, he's with Ramsey Lewis. He said, Ricki, Knox, I said, Henry Johnson? I said, you got the gig with him? He said, yup. And we hugged each other, man. We played, I think he stayed in Cleveland for about 2 days. And we did one show with Ramsey, you know. I mean, we played on Traffic, man. Played every time they would play. We was at this club called The Mug. Sold up. I mean, this is what the owner wanted. Everything national came through there. We warmed up. Patrice Rushing, Ramsey Lewis, Jamal, Ahmed Jamal. It's a whole host of. This is a jazz series that the club had, and it was nothing like Indianapolis would have never had that type of thing going on, and it was a packed house every night, you know, and it was just an experience. We loved it, man. It was just fun, and we got to learn stuff. They say, we lost a drummer, man.
Where was this club located, the most?
It was downtown Cleveland.
Oh, in Cleveland.
Yeah.
This was when the group relocated from Indianapolis to Cleveland.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when you came into the group, what year was it again? Remind me. Merging Traffic. 77, 78.
It was around between 77, 76. I'd say no. I was in that. It was late 76. Or early 77, somewhere around there. I know. I got a chance to see the bicentennial year in New York. From my hotel room, you could see all these ships and boats, and they said, you know, that's when I really realized what the bicentennial year was. Was it 1777? 1877? 76, yeah. So that was the year I was in New York then. So it was slightly after that when I came home.
So when you came back to Indianapolis and joined Merging Traffic, they were still gigging and working and based out of Indy?
They were
gone to Ohio at that point.
No, we stayed in Indianapolis, man, and worked every place we could possibly work, you know. And our manager here, Clarence Bowden, he knew this management company in Cleveland that they wanted us to pack up, move, and relocate to Cleveland. Let me see how that went down. Because we played, we was up on the Sunshine production, Joe Harvey, and everything national that came through here on the concert level, we would warm them up on the jazz series. You know, that's how Rayford ended up getting hooked up with John Luke.
John Luke Ponte.
Yeah.
Rayford Griffin is, to this day, still plays with John Luke Ponte, right?
Well, he went out with him in years.
Okay.
But he didn't went out with everybody else.
Right.
And they steady called him. I talked to Rayford last week. Yeah. You know, I mean, dude got a house paid for, man. But anyway,
mansion paid for. You mean?
No, it's not. I FaceTime. It's not. He got backyard. He cuts his grass. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for real.
What kind of clubs was Merging Traffic playing in Indianapolis when you were with them?
We did the Patio a lot. We did the original Crazy Owls, which was a pizza place on the west side of College. And Jeff said, "Man, I need to get a bigger place." And he moved across the street.
Where the Jazz Kitchen is.
Where the Jazz Kitchen is. Yeah. That, before it was Jazz Kitchen, that was Crazy House.
Yeah. And what kind of music, other than Merging Traffic, they had all kinds of music there, right?
They had all kinds of music there, but we got a chance to start writing our own stuff. And we would integrate our stuff in with the other stuff that was already cover tunes. And it worked out great. And got to the point where we started doing more of our stuff than cover tunes. You know, but we blended them both together so they would get accepted, you know. And man, we had a section in front of the stage for the hearing impaired. They could feel what me and Rayford and the music what we were doing. They couldn't actually hear it, but the whole section stayed packed every time we hit, you know, which is impressive, you know. And when we wasn't there, that place was not packed. Not that front row, because that first section was for the hearing impaired, you know.
But that was for the deaf was in that area, right?
Yes, right up around the corner. So yeah, man, that was an experience for them, you know. So, but anyway, we had played every place that we could possibly play, man, and you know, instead of getting burnt out, I'll tell you what, I got called to go play with a cousin of mine that was background singing for Tyrone Davis. She lived in Chicago. I think I was gone for about a week and a half. And come Rayford called me again. Man, look, they got new management, so we can go to Cleveland. Come on, man, they want you back. I was okay. Jumped on the plane and came back to Indianapolis, man, there. And we were at 79. I know I ain't gonna forget that day. Me, Gerald, and Rayford took off from Rayford's van and drove to Cleveland. Everybody else came up there in their own way, you know. But anyway, we had a designated place where we was gonna meet up at, man. And
so the band had just kind of saturated the indie market. You kind of hit a ceiling, and you felt like you needed to kind of branch out to another city? What was the logic there?
To get another management company.
Okay.
Which was in Cleveland.
Yeah, just new opportunities.
New opportunity,
okay.
you know, and it was everybody was hungry. We was game. We was geek for it, you know. And the drummer with John Lou, Steve Smith. Him and Ray constantly stayed in contact with each other. Steve Smith got called to go play with Journey. Journey. And he turned Rayford on to the gig to John Lou. I said, man, you can't be mad at that cat, man. You help him pack his bags. You know, that's John Lou's a national, international artist, man. Come on, man, let me help you get your stuff out of here, you know. And we went through a phase of depression. But
when Rayford left.
When Rayford left. Because we knew it was going to be there was going to be some big shoes to fill, man, you know. And like I said, we auditioned probably about 12 or 15 drummers. And none of them stand up to nowhere close to what Rayford was doing. So we had to end up packing up, coming back to Indianapolis. I think we came home, stayed home for about 6 months. And that's when I got this guy here, Harry Betty Rice drummer. He's the only guy I knew that could become close to Rayford, because he's not Rayford, but he ain't far from him either. That dude's he's a nasty cat, man. He can play very hard, tab stuff, you know. We went back to Cleveland, man, and resumed as what we were doing. You know, we had contract gigs, we had dates booked as far as 6 months in advance. 82, we woke up one morning and we had no keyboard player. Said, Jeff, what's going on? Jeff and Kenny was like this. They stayed upstairs in the band house from the rest of us. He said, man, Mike called, which was Kenny's wife, said, gave him an ultimatum, said if our album was not out by a certain date, she wanted a divorce. She can't even tell you that, you know. Anyway, he just up out of nowhere just packed up and left. Didn't tell us nothing. Fellas, I'm sorry, yada yada, nothing. I think we made 3 of the gigs. Then the band disbanded. The band I think my mother sent me and Joel a bus ticket. Paid for a bus ticket so we can come back home. And it was very sad. It was very sad, you know. Later on when I got back here, I was supposed to have been doing me and Yogi is a drummer from here.
Yeah, I know Yogi.
When I with the OJs. He was me and Yogi were supposed to help Kevin Kendricks do his demo, which he's a keyboard player for Cameo. Which we all hooked up in Cleveland. He was with Dad's band. Okay, man, this is a circle, boy. We were doing his demo, and Kevin called and said, "Hey, man, LB want to talk to you." I didn't know who LB was. He asked me how tall I was, how much I weighed, and asked me was I interested in coming to Atlanta and how soon could I get there. And I was like, "You talking Cameo?" He said, "Yeah, I just laid back." So I'll get there tomorrow. He said, your plane ticket's already there. So I'm trying to think, what's his name? Pat Jeffries. Guitar player passed away now. Picked me up that next morning, took me to the airport, man, went straight to Atlanta. And I stayed out there with Cameo and them probably close to about a year.
Touring or?
Yeah, I was the bass player for a year. Well, what it was, he already told me what the situation was. Mike Barnett was on his own project. That's the original bass player for Cameo. And he said, "This is temporary." I said, "I have to accept that." You know, when we got to Los Angeles, man, and it was I think we had a 3-day break. I said, "I know when we come to the end to the tour." I made the audition for Jeffrey Osborne's band. And he called me, and his people called me and said, "Man, Rick, you made it. Jeffrey wants you." you know. I was surprised. I was shocked because there's a lot of good players in LA. I mean, a whole lot. But he chose me. I get a phone call next morning. My mom said, "Man, you got to come home. Your baby mama have left these kids here with me." She said she was not raising no more kids. All right?
Do.
Thank you.
You know, I wanted to follow up on a couple things we just talked about. Cameo, what year were you with Cameo? 82, 83?
83.
Yeah.
83. In the beginning of 83, matter of fact. It was early 83. Before the tour season even kicked off because they're rehearsing, you know.
And you mentioned the end of Merging Traffic, which happened in Cleveland around 1982, or was that
80, about 81.
Yeah.
81, 82, something like that, yeah.
And Kenny Sims, who was essentially, he was one of the founders of the band. And
he is the founder, yeah.
Essentially the leader of the group, would
yes.
you say? Yeah. He just left and there was no band meeting, there was no phone call. You just woke up and the leader of the band left. No explanation.
He told Jeff.
But no
instructions
on like I'll be back or
nothing.
We're gonna work this out or anything. Just gone.
Man, it was more than 25 years before I seen Kenny again. And he acted like he did no wrong. You know, he had no idea what kind of thing he had caused with the cats that was left, man. Harry was so distraught, man. He said, "I'm not going back to Indianapolis." He had hooked up with some female and got married. I don't know if he played with anybody else in Cleveland, but he didn't come back to Indianapolis. But he was so hurt because he wanted to play jazz. He wanted to play fusion. He didn't want to play Betty Wright 4/4 stuff no more. He had never played fusion jazz, and he was like, "Man, I want to do this." I mean, he admired Rayford. You know, he said, "I want to do some of the stuff that Rayford was doing." And I said, "Well, we here, man. We're going to help you do this, man. You're the only cat I know that we know that can fill Rayford's shoes or even come close." So, but just when that was getting to the peak, man, that's when that happened to us, man. I'm trying to watch how I say stuff, man. I don't want to.
I understand that. You don't want to hurt anybody's, cause any beef with anybody or anything. Yeah. And if you think about it later and something you said you didn't sit right with you, just let me know. I'm not going to put it in if you're not comfortable with it.
Well, I'm going to let you edit that.
All right, yeah, okay.
I know I would probably over the edge a couple times.
All right, well, maybe I'll check in with you if I felt like something might be on the border. But during this time in Cleveland, you had an opportunity to record an album with Merging Traffic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about the sessions for this album and yeah.
Oh my God, man, it was like clockwork. You know, we had time slots, we had editing slots. We was just getting ready to do a master mix over the whole thing when Kenny walked away from that. You got the music. I mean, you're gonna hear that. You know, it was not. It hadn't been mastered, but it was real close to it. You know, they started putting little studio toys and stuff in it. You know, and like Ricki said, man, right to this day, man, some of that stuff, man, sounds just as good today as it did 41 years ago. That's what I'm down. I couldn't believe that many years went by just like that, man. You know. So yeah, man.
And Kenny had told me, Kenny Sims, that at one point Columbia Records had an interest in the group. Were you recording this record as a demo? Did you have a label that was interested in putting it out? Do you remember what the situation was there?
We didn't have a deal.
Yeah.
As far as I know, it was a high gloss demo, ready to go. You know, and our management, we had 3 managers. They were going to take care of that. You know, as far as advertising, distribution, rights. All that stuff, that was their baby. They were going to take care of all of that, you know. They were flipped out about what happened to the group. You know, when me and Gerald got back to Indianapolis, they were still trying to get us to come back to Cleveland. They said, "We're going to put the group back together." I said, "Man, it's damaged. The damage is too bad. It wouldn't work, you know." And actually, I wasn't interested in wasting no more time, you know. Of course, that's when you know, the Jeffrey Osborne and the Cameo thing came up, man. I mean, the Cameo Jeffrey Osborne thing, man. I wanted to get back on the national. I wanted to get back on the tour set the tour circuit, you know. Tour buses, I wanted to, you know. Wasn't crazy about the airplane, but yeah, tour buses, man, was part of my dreams, man. You know, them big, look at them big, gorgeous buses.
So, you know, you were involved in several projects that actually went into the studio, recorded the music, and it never went anywhere. It never got released. It just was sitting on a shelf for a long time. How did you feel at the time, and how do you feel now, looking back at that?
Well, you know, when Rayford gave me that call, man, said he had the file to send me, I completely forgot about this music, man. A couple of songs I wrote. A couple of them songs, well, one of them I know I got a bass solo on that I forgot I even did. And he said, man, I know what you mean. I said, Rayford, this stuff about tears of mine. He said, man, no worries. I know what you mean. It did me too. You know. Could have been financially independent right now and legends. I mean, well known in the music industry, you know. But things happen the way they're supposed to, man. You know, it's already written. You know, everybody's direction was meant for everybody to go what direction they went in, apparently, you know.
Which songs did you write on that record?
I wrote Caution, and I think I wrote, let me get my brains on. Was it No Stopping and Step? No, wait a minute.
Better call Rayford.
I see. Oh my God. I can say Caution for right now.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And you know, I have a question for you about Kenny and his approach to, you know, leading this band. You know, when I told you I did a radio show with Kenny and George a couple years ago.
I heard a piece of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they shared some of the music they'd recorded from different periods in the band's career.
Yeah.
And you know, they recorded often, and the quality of what they recorded was exceptional.
So back in them days, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and you know, you were saying that if the band had kind of stayed together and been able to get this music out to the public, you could have been legends and financially independent. And yeah. The question that everybody asked me after that show went on the air is, why didn't they ever put that music out? Do you have any insight
question, man.
on what kind of their philosophy was that prevented them from sharing this?
That I can't answer that. I really can't. I mean, it's like disintegration. You know, like it never existed. I didn't know this music existed. You know, I thought Lynn, the management in Cleveland, had all rights to this music because they paid for the session. That session was not cheap, you know. And I honestly forgot all about it. I forgot I even spent that much time in the studio even doing this stuff, man. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
Was Kenny a perfectionist? Was he anti-establishment? What kept him from kind of... Yeah, did you get any sense of personality-wise what might have been going on?
Kenny had like a producer-type mentality and an arranger. Yeah, and a writer. Kenny's gifted. Kenny's a good guy, man. Kenny's very talented, man. Just that a group of that level, I didn't think he knew how to communicate with them, you know, the cats, you know. And then at that phase of it, I think he was kind of hurt to the point that he didn't want to carry on no more either, because Rayford got that gig, man. Rayford got international. And ever since John Lou, man, Rayford done played with all the big guys, man.
Michael Jackson, everybody, yeah.
He came back here when that, after Merger Traffic and the John Lou thing, Rayford came back here with Stanley Clark. Used to be my idol, who I learned how to do some of the slick stuff I do. From George Duke, Jeff Lobert, Nita Baker, Najee, who was it? He's got all, his resume is just, man, you know, I mean, being an LA resident, man, and right there, it's smack dab almost in Hollywood. Are you available? Why, yes I am. And they get them and go, man. Go out for, what, 6-9 months? Come back home for 6 or 9 months. This tour season starts all over again. He's out again with somebody else, you know, which would have happened to me if I stayed there. But man, my kid's more important to me than that. Yeah. You know, I spent 25 years plus making sure they were well taken care of, and right to this day, they're married. They both married. My daughter just made me a grandfather. Cam was 1 year old, March 27th. Proud as I can be. You know, I get a second chance to do this music, man. I'm going in as a commando. You hear me? I'm serious about doing whatever brand to the best of my ability and some. You know, I'm a very aggressive player. You know, and behind this stuff with all these different bands, I'm more aggressive than I ever been. You know, and I do it without having to say, well, he's playing too much, or he's getting in the way of vocals. No, I do it with a lot of taste and a lot of style, and I try to make every note mean something. You know, I tell a story with my playing, you know. And by me having that mentality and that thought, that train of thought, man, everything I touch, man, it feels good. Like, my pastor wouldn't even know what to do if I left him, man. I ain't going nowhere.
You're playing at a church now.
Yeah. You know, I ain't going nowhere.
God, you won't believe
New Birth Praise and Worship Center, all of that. You know, they have a website, and we have a band now. You know, I've never been happier, man. You know, as far as playing gospel. Now, the other stuff, I have to be very picky who I spend my time with now. Because some of these guys, they want to do this. They don't know what they're doing, man. They don't know the instrument well enough. And I can't do teaching no more, man. I tried it. And you know. You know, he's been with me at the only, what's the name of the cast? Free Flow. And then KBB. This guy had us working, man. I haven't worked for the door in Lord knows how many years. This guy got us a job up to Fast Eddie's. We all agreed to work for the door. Each week, we start making more and more money. The place was getting like this. We start making so much money, the club owner said we got to renegotiate because you guys making more money than the bar. So either y'all give me a price what y'all gonna charge, or y'all got to go. So what we do was, we collapsed. Club went like this after that, man. And you can't make that out. It was a true story. So, but there's a lot of episodes, man, in this business. A lot of different personalities. The chemistry sometimes is on, and a lot of times it's not. You know, but that's the business. You know.
Is there anyone you played with that we didn't mention yet that you want to talk about? You know, we talked about Cameo, Brother Jack McDuff. I think you mentioned you played with Millie Jackson.
Millie Jackson.
Yeah, when did you play with her?
That was back in the early 70s. That didn't last long. I think I stayed with Millie for about almost a year. You know, she was one of them Chitlin circus, as they call it. You know, but I was young blood, man. I was really young blood. I was, you know. And the woman cussed a lot, cussed more than me. But yeah, that was an experience. Let me see. I think that's just about it that I could talk about. Yeah, because see, normally I'm pretty stable, man. I don't really hop from group to group. If I get with a group and it's a working situation, I'm a team player. I stay, you know. Now I didn't play with a lot of different groups, but a lot of years went by too, you know. So, but basically, yeah, I'm a team player, you know, and I still believe in that, you know. I just think I got to be picky what team I pick from here on out, you know. And I ain't saying I think I'm too good to do this. It's just that I've been there, done that. You know, and I don't want to waste no more of my time, man. You know, I don't want to waste anybody's time, you know. I want to make it count, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm at this point here.
Yeah, and you know, looking back on your career, you know, you became a professional musician at 10, 11 years old. And,
Yes.
you know, you've devoted the majority of your life to playing music. And
Yes.
you played at the highest levels of the industry with some of the greatest legends in American music. You know, how do you feel looking back on that? Or any thoughts you want to share, just looking back on your career in music?
A lot of it, I didn't realize where I was, level of professional levels. I had no idea that I was messing with this type of thing, this type of caliber of people, or the business. Not till later on, you know. And then I'm glad I was able to find out how the motor run. I know how this business goes. I know about the record business. I know about production. I know about music. I know about equipment. I know how stage setup, load in, load out. I know how the business goes, you know. So yeah, it was all worth it. I have no regrets. You know. So.
Yeah. Any final thoughts you want to share on your music and what the incredible wealth of experience you've had playing with everyone from Babyface to you know, like we said, Brother Jack McDuff? Any final thoughts you want to share on that?
I just thank God that I'm still here and that my health will allow me to continue on to keep the dream going. And I want to play every day for the rest of my life if I can, you know, and make it count. Yeah.
Man, I can't thank you enough for being here today, Ricki, and sharing this incredible history with us. It's hard for me to wrap my head around everything you've done and been a part of. It's truly extraordinary, and I really appreciate you taking time to go through all this.
Well, I hope I wasn't talking too much.
No, not at all. Thank you, man.
You're welcome, man.
Really appreciate it.
Wow.
Man.
Great.
Yeah.
Great interview, man.
Yeah.
Was that a good one, man?
Oh, yeah.
I kind of backed up a little bit because I hope he don't think I'm just, because it's a lot more.
I know. He kept on asking me, Ricki. He said, "Is he looking forward to this?" I said, "Man, he can't wait. What you talking about?"
Well, you know, sometimes people come in and they're angry. Like I revere this man as a drummer, but Matthew Watson, right?
Ooh.
Boy, he came in here, right? Angry. He was mad at you. He was mad at me.
Wow.
And when he was ready, he just got up and left.
Really?
Yeah,
He's in the interview. He jumped up.
He's like, "I gotta go."
What is that?
And Kyle went. He said, "I gotta go." And Kyle went.
All right.
What his helicopter was waiting on him? Or what?
I tell you what it was.
Rayford play. Right?
Rayford was down at the Jazz Kitchen.
Oh, is that right?
And he told him he wanted to come down there. And so I was the chauffeur and everything. I had to take him down there.
Right, you picked him up. Yeah, he was mad at you for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah.
That don't sound like that was a pleasant interview.
Oh, man.
No, but I'm so glad we did it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he died not too long after.
Yeah, that was, that kind of messed me up, man. Yeah.
Ricki, I didn't get those files. Can we try that?
Yeah, man. You know what you're doing on this, man.
I'm going to send them one at a time.
You can do whatever you need to do.
And then I wanted to get a couple pictures of you, of your photos and of you and Butch, if you don't mind.
See, man, that's what this Facebook thing do, man. I got tricked into this, man. I ain't no media mobile. Oh, that's my daughter.
Oh, look, Ricki. What about myself?
Huh? Oh, Mr. Drysdale.